All right, guys, as you're joining, how many people do we have on right now,
It's 20.
Chris? We got 20? Okay. Should we start, Chris? I'm going to leave this one. I'm going to ask you the question. What do you think?
Yeah. I,
Yes?
I think you should start. Yes.
Okay. So last time I'm going to note this. Please have your correct name in your on your profile, in your Zoom profile. Please put your contact information in the chat because I'm going to send some materials afterwards. I want to make sure I can reach you. These are free, by the way. And please consider, what do I want from my business? The one sentence that describes what you want from your business, because that's going to be the foundation of your annual plan. Obviously, it's not a great plan if it doesn't help you actually get what you want from your business. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to start with an introduction. My name is James Wisdom. I'm a professional EOS implementer. I've helped dozens of growing companies get more of what they want from their businesses. That's what I do. Today, I'm going to help you create a very streamlined annual plan for your business, a clear, actionable plan that you can take back into your business and begin implementing next week, and things are going to get better. It's a simple goal, but one that I can't do without you partnering with me and participating. I really need you to engage and actively participate in the work that we're going to do together. All right. So here's how we're going to spend the next 50 or so minutes. In the first part of the call, about 15 minutes, I'm going to establish context for the challenge that we're trying to solve. Teach you a little bit about how annual planning works within the EOS framework. In the second part, I'm going to introduce you to the tools and disciplines that we use in order to create the annual plan and form that up so it's simple and clear for everyone in your organization. And in the third part, we have some time set aside to answer any questions that you might have along the way. Now, quick etiquette note, I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but one more time, unless you're volunteering, and volunteers will be needed, please keep yourself on mute. No one wants to listen to a leaf blower or a dog barking in the background, no matter how cute that dog is. My buddy's dog, oh my God, the thing's adorable, but we still don't want to hear him. Now, there's a time allocated at the end, as I said, for questions, but feel free to drop them in the chat, and Chris will send them my way if it's contextually appropriate, and I'll pick them out on an as-needed basis, and if it fits properly with what I'm talking about. But otherwise, we'll do them at the end, and we'll go through them and try to get as many of them as answered as possible. But you also have my email address at this point, so feel free to give me a call or grab time on my calendar. There's a little calendar icon below my head. I'm happy to chat with any of you and answer any questions you have and help out along the way. All right. Now, what's our challenge today? I help a lot of entrepreneurial companies, and I've noticed recently that most of the companies I'm talking to, my clients, my prospects, and my friends, literally my friends that own businesses, they're having trouble scaling and growing. The leaders of those companies are frustrated. They're hitting the ceiling. They talked to me about how for the first couple of years, their business was almost too easy when it was just them and maybe a handful of people. Then all of a sudden they hit a ceiling. They get stuck and they just can't figure out a way to break through the ceiling. And that's normal, I tell them. That's commonplace because I've personally been there with my own business. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But it's my belief that I can help with that frustration a little bit with this session. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the 8 questions of the EOS Vision Traction Organizer to establish your annual plan. Now, truth be told, we only have an hour. So I'm going to cover the bare essentials with you today, help you get moving in the right direction. And that's our purpose today, to help you define your annual plan so you can get everyone in your organization 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you're going to get there. Now, I'll also be sharing a little bit of how I was able to break through the ceiling with my own business, triple revenues, and achieve the freedom I needed to regain my own personal life. I hope that sounds good because that's what we're about to do. Now, for anyone who joined in the last few minutes, please answer the question. What do you want from your business? In the chat, keep it brief, no more than 7 words, just one sentence. What do you want from your business? Because you can't have an annual plan if you don't know what you want from your business, right? It's sort of like, how am I going to get to Colorado if I don't even know I'm going to Colorado? Now, I'm going to give a few minutes of context, a little bit about EOS and a little bit about me, so you know I'm not just here practicing on you, and you understand the general framework of what we're doing for your annual plan. Now, as an EOS implementer, I help people get what they want from their businesses by providing a complete system of simple, proven tools to help them do 3 things that we call vision, traction, and healthy. Now, vision just means getting everybody 100% on the same page with where the business is going and how you plan to get there. Traction just means instilling the discipline and accountability throughout your organization so that no matter where you go, you see people executing on your vision. And healthy means helping you become a more healthy, cohesive, functional, open, and honest team because sometimes you're not. Now, from there, we find as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization. Ultimately, you get to a point where everybody in the organization is 100% on the same page with your vision. They're executing on that vision with discipline and real accountability and working together as a healthy, functional, cohesive group of people who actually enjoy spending time together. What a dream, right? Eventually, excuse me, everything I'm going to share with you today was created by a lifelong entrepreneur by the name of Gino Wickman. This is not something that I just invented out of thin air. EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System, isn't software. It's a management operating system that maximizes human energy, delivering better results for businesses and more fulfilling lives for the people that run them. EOS was invented over 20 years ago, and there's over 200,000 companies globally running on EOS tools. As I said, it's just a set of simple, real-world, practical tools, timeless concepts that have been around for 100 years and going to be around for 1,000 more. So if you tuned into this call looking for unicorns, magic pills, the next sparkly thing, you're not going to find those in EOS. I'm just bringing real-world practical stuff that you can use tomorrow. The kinds of organizations I work with are entrepreneurial. Most of them have between 10 and 500 employees. Their owners and leaders are growth-oriented and open-minded. They're willing to be open and honest and vulnerable with themselves and the people around them. And they're more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. So that's a little bit about EOS. Now, let me share with you a little bit about my story. I grew up watching my mom grow a thriving financial business with thousands of cold calls from our plaid living room couch. She's my inspiration. I went on to school. I came out. I got jobs with big global organizations, Fortune 100 organizations, iconic companies, leading marketing teams. And I loved making great marketing with those organizations by unlocking the potential of the people around me, getting everybody focused and keeping the teams on track. But what I didn't like so much after about 15 years of this was the politics, the bureaucracy, and all the things you hear about these big companies. So I thought, I'm going to be a smart guy and I'm going to open my own marketing agency and I'm going to work with smaller, more entrepreneurial companies that won't have those big bureaucratic problems. Well, the first surprise was that the smaller entrepreneurial companies have exactly the same problems. In some cases, they're just different, and they're just smaller in size. The other big surprise was that my own organization was succeeding, but I started having a lot of trouble with my organization about a year and a half in. That was painful because I had always been known in my corporate career as a fixer. I've been somebody you pull in if things are going sideways, a deadline everybody thinks is impossible, a team that doesn't know how to work together and can't get along. I was that guy, but I needed to fix myself in this situation. I was the one, frankly, that needed fixing. So I went into my own personal network. I asked around. I had two different people say to me, they didn't know each other, people I trusted, say, you should check out EOS. So I checked out EOS. I implemented it in my business. I tripled revenue over the next 3 years. But more importantly, I got my personal life back. And as a result of that journey, I realized that what really mattered to me is unlocking the potential of the people around me. That's what I really loved. And when I look back on my 20-year career, actually, I guess it's about 25 now, I realize I've touched the lives of a lot of people in a really positive way. And that's what gives me energy. So I decided to become a full-time EOS implementer. And that's why you find me here today. That's me. Now let's get into the tools and let's get your annual planning built out. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of context about where these tools come from and how they fit together. Only going to work with a small sliver of them today, but it makes sense for you to understand the bigger picture. Now I'd like to illustrate for you what all of our work looks like when the work is done at the end of a journey that I take with my clients. And the end of a journey you can take yourselves. The best way to illustrate that is with a model that has your business at the center of it. So try to imagine this circle containing the name of your business or even yourself. Now, this model stems from a discovery that all entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurial leaders tend to wrestle with about 136 issues simultaneously, right? You probably feel that you're juggling those things. I understand that feeling myself. Now, that discovery tells us that to the extent you can strengthen the 6 key components of your business, those issues just tend to fall into place because they're really just symptoms of the true root cause. And so when I'm talking about the journey, it's a journey to strengthen the 6 key components of your business. Now, I'm going to share those 6 key components with you very quickly. Buckle up, because here we go. Now, the first key component of your business, of any business, is the vision component. This is just getting everybody in your organization 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you plan to get there. We're going to be focusing on the vision component for your annual plan today. I'm going to be helping you answer 8 questions to help you get your vision and plan on the right track. Now, each of the 6 key components has 2 tools or disciplines that help you understand how we strengthen the vision component and all 6 of these components, but we'll save that deep dive for another time. We don't have time today. The second key component is the people component. Very simply, you can't achieve a great vision without great people. That makes sense, right? We all understand that. The truth is, every organization defines great people differently. Now, we spend a little time on the tools and disciplines. We're going to really get to the heart for what makes for great people in your unique organization. Again, we're not going to touch that today, but happy to help you with this. The third key component is the data component. Now, that's running your business on facts, figures, and objective information rather than feelings, ego, subjective emotions. My brother's gut. Those often drive decision-making in entrepreneurial organizations. Now, what we find is that when you strengthen the vision, people, and data components of your business, your organization gets transparent. It becomes more visible. You can see all the issues, all the problems as they arise. Right? All that becomes clear. And that brings us to our next key component, the issues component. Being 100% strong in your issues component is just being great at identifying your issues and dealing with them once and for all in your organization so that they go away and they stay away forever. So you don't have zombies running through your organization, these problems that keep coming back week after week, month after month, year after year. It's about identifying them, dealing with them, and getting them dealt with once and for all so they don't come back. Does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully. Everybody can see that? Okay, so the next key component of your business is the process component. And that's just getting things done the right and best way every single time consistently, and your entire team working the right and best way every single time. It makes it simpler to scale. It makes doing business easier, and it makes it more fun. Now, a lot of people are like, ooh, process. I personally think process is very sexy, and that makes me a little bit strange. So I hope that you think so too. Now, the last component is the traction component. Now, it's no accident that the traction component is at the bottom of the model and the vision component is at the top, right? You can't have a great vision. You can't realize a great vision unless you bring that vision down to the ground and apply it using traction, the discipline, the accountability, and what we call the 90-day world in order for you to bring that vision down to the ground, because vision without traction is hallucination. I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right, good. Now, moving on. Now, that's the EOS model. That's the whole thing. That's the quick run through that I promised I was going to do. What I do is I work with my clients to help them get 100% strong in all of these tools. Now, what we're going to be focusing on today, as I mentioned, is what you see circled there. It's the 8 questions within the vision component for to help you develop your annual plan. Okay. Now, what I want to do next is I'm going to give you the VTO template. Now, I'm going to go over this in the next couple of minutes, but by all means, if you want to download that, you can use that link. You can take a picture of the QR code. You can print it out real quick. But everybody that's on this call should have a fresh sheet of paper and should be thinking about what do I want from my business, right? This is the most important question that we've got to start with for your annual plan. Hopefully just one sentence, even 7 words that just describe what do I want from my business? Because if you don't know what you want from your business, obviously there's no way that you're going to get there. So let me introduce you to the 8 questions. And by the way, whether you and I ever talk again or not, that's fine. Use this tool. It's available to you. Anybody can use it, from solopreneur up to companies that are 500 employees and even beyond that. There's companies that are using EOS that are thousands of employees. So use this tool. It's a valuable tool and it's really, really functional. Okay. Here we go. So this is the Vision Traction Organizer. Now, the 8 questions are the areas that are denoted on the sides in the orange. So as you can see on this slide, this is the vision side of the document, you got your core values, your core focus, your 10-year target, your marketing strategy, your 3-year picture. And then if we go to the traction side of the document, we've got your 1-year plan, right? That's what we're talking about, your rocks and your issues list. That's the VTO. Now, I'm not going to go through and do a deep dive on every single one of these items, but I'm going to introduce you to every one of the items. And then some of it you can do as homework. Some of it we'll do a little bit on the session today. Okay. So here we go. Let's start with core values. Now, every company has core values. You've probably heard of core values, right? It's a really commonly used term, but it defines the culture for each unique organization. It defines your culture, right? So that it helps you say, hey, this is who we are at the core. That's why we call it core values. And when we talk about the people component, which we're not going to get into today, we talk about how we can use those core values to attract the people you want, the people that match your core values to your organization, and frankly, repel the people that don't match, that aren't a great match for you, right? So companies like, mom and pop electronics store versus something like QVC. I worked at QVC. They've got different cultures, right? And it's being honest about what the difference is between those cultures and owning that and being able to find the right people that match your culture. Okay. Next up, we have what's called the core focus. Now, this is your purpose, cause, and passion, and your niche. Now, what this is really about is why you do what you do in your business. What's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your passion? What are you trying to bring to the planet? What good do you bring? Hopefully, it's good. And the niche is really what you do, right? So, what is your business? Is it selling electronics? Is it making widgets? But you have to say, okay, here's my purpose, cause, or passion. Here's my niche. This is how I fit in the world. Okay. That's core focus. Now we're going to get to the 10-year target. And this is where we get to the question, what do you want from your business? Now, it can be any amount of time that you really want, but we try to keep it to 5 to 30 years out. It's your number one goal. Okay. So now this is when we start to get to the volunteering part. Chris, do we have some folks on the call today? Chris is laughing. He must be reading a dad joke. Do we have folks on the call today that have input their 10-year target? And if you'd like to raise your hand and volunteer your 10-year target, I'd love to hear people's 10-year target, which is, again, what do I want from my business? Raise your hand in Zoom if you'd like to volunteer to share your 10-year target. Now, participation, I said participation was key. Chris, I can't hear you. You're muted, bud.
This is Mike, Mike Cogswell. I'm going to say that I'm going to be gone in 10 years.
Okay.
But let's look at a 5-year goal would be through an IPO.
Okay. All right. So what your goal is I want to be IPO'd my business. Are you going to stay in the business? IPO
No.
or IPO to sale? What are you thinking about, Mike?
Yeah, probably an IPO to sale. We've kind of done that a couple different times, and so we're on a trajectory right now with the bankers. We'll probably 3 years, and then we'll start the process for the IPO. Hopefully, full year, maybe 5-year, depending upon the market. And then I typically leave post IPO and go on and do another one.
Okay. How many have you done so far, Mike? Just curious.
This is my 4th company.
Okay. Well, congratulations. It sounds like you found your personal niche. Would anyone else like to volunteer their 10-year target? Take yourself off mute and start talking. Other than that, Chris, if we've got any in the chat, you can go ahead and read them out too. We don't have to name names. Chris, you're muted, bud. Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay.
But I didn't hear you before if you were asking me something previously.
Oh, yeah. So do we have any other 10-year targets or what do I want from my business in the chat that we could use as examples today?
No, we just have people listing what their reflection was from the question before the call.
Okay, but that's the same thing. So go ahead and let's pick one or two of those and read them out. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Mike Cogswell said he wanted to position a new cancer treatment device for growth with early
Mhm.
well sites. Michael Brown said he wanted to provide more time and money as opposed to having a job. Matt Nielsen said he wanted to build relationships with potential clients. And Mona K. Riffy said that she wanted to build a robust client base as a business coach.
Okay. Okay, good. Those are all great targets to have. That's what you want from your business. Take some time to refine those, get those down, make it as clear as possible. A lot of my clients say, okay, well, I want to have a revenue number in there, right? It's not uncommon for us to say, well, maybe Mike Cogswell says, well, I want to IPO and I want the target to be whatever this number is, right? A lot of times we have, with most of my clients, we project out, okay, what would be a big, hairy, audacious goal for your 10-year target? And we calculate out what we think they're potentially going to hit, but we make it big. We want the big idea, but we also want it to be achievable. We don't want to just shoot for the moon. We want to shoot for the stars and miss it. We want to try to shoot for the moon and be as accurate as we can. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your examples on that. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to move on to the next element, which is your marketing strategy. Now, I'm going to run through this really quickly. Again, this is going to be mostly homework, but I am available for any questions that anybody has. The marketing strategy is simply designed to get you all on the same page. Everybody in your organization, or if you're a solopreneur, it's really you, your focus, with who you should talk to and what you should say to get the biggest return on your investment in your precious sales and marketing energy and time. Now, there are 4 parts to the marketing strategy: the target market, the 3 uniques, the proven process, and the guarantee. Now, the target market is just identifying who your ideal prospect is, the demographic, geographic, and psychographic profile, the kinds of people or companies that you should be laser focused on proactively selling and marketing to. Now, first, a little detail on each one of those so you guys can come away and sort of think this through and get it done yourself. First, for geographic, while we'd love to take over the entire planet, every business would, we have to recognize we only have the capacity to serve a small part of it. Now, the question for you is, what part do you want to serve? Are you willing to travel 3 hours away or 50 miles? Could you serve the entire US or just your state or just your region? Okay, figure that out. Answer that question. Then demographic. Which customer is going to appreciate you the most? Who has the need and the money that they can spend on your services? Are they families, empty nesters? Are they in certain types of neighborhoods? If you're B2B, which types of companies do you want to serve? Does industry segment even matter to you? In most cases, it will, right? In some cases, it will, some it won't. And then last is psychographic. You want customers that will work well with you. So think about what your ideal customer value from their provider. What do they value? What's important to them? Is it quality, craftsmanship, price, or something else? How do they think? What do they value? That's their psychographic. Now, once that's clear, which is the target market in the list, the rest of the marketing strategy is simply your message to those ideal prospects. 3 uniques are just 3 differentiating characteristics, the 3 things about your organization that make you different and better than your competition. It sets you apart. The proven process is a 1-page visual illustration of the way you take care of your customers from the moment they start thinking about doing business with you to the time they're long-time satisfied business partners of yours. The guarantee is just a pledge or promise that reduces the fear of adoption and eliminates objections that you might face in the sales and marketing process. I'm fully guaranteed, by the way. So I drink the Kool-Aid. Now, after our session today, your to-do list is for either yourself or your team is to get together and get 100% on the same page with your marketing strategy. Now, once you're all 100% on the same page with your core values, your core focus, and your marketing strategy, you'll know who you are at the core. You'll know what you love to do and are best at with your core focus. You'll know where you're going long term and how you're going to get there with your marketing strategy. Now, we then crystallize the vision for the organization. This is where we get into the planning a little bit more. Bring it down to the ground and start making it real with your 3-year picture. Now, this is not a detailed 3 to 5 year strategic planning process we're going to go through. Wherever you're taking notes, write down the date, February 22nd, 2027, right? That's 3 years from now. All we're trying to do is get every member of your team to crystallize and visualize exactly what this company needs to look like 3 short years from now. Because if you can all see the same thing in your mind's eye, the chance that you're going to achieve that vision becomes significantly higher. Pardon me. We start by quickly defining your revenue, profits, and measurables. What does this company need to achieve 3 years from now to lay the foundation for your 10-year target? So each of you, everyone on the call, write down a revenue and profit goal to be on the right track to your 10-year target. No ranges. Ranges are not permitted. Just one number. Okay? Take a second. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to write those numbers down. Your revenue and your profit number for 3 years from now. Now for the measurable, and I know you're probably still thinking and writing, that's okay. For the measurable, pick the one thing that if you were to communicate it to your organization, to other people, it would show them the scope and size of your organization. So they would say, holy cow, we're going to have that many of those. So for like an IT company, it might be how many seats that they've got licensed. For a B2B company, it might be the number of clients, square footage, seats, right? So go ahead and put down that measurable number that isn't revenue or profit, but is illustrative of the scale and growth that you've had in your organization. Okay, go ahead and write that down now. Now you're going to see the 5 to 15 bullet points underneath the question. You can just do this on scratch paper. What does it look like? Now, this is where we paint a vivid picture of what your organization needs to look like 3 short years from now and the way to achieving your vision. And the vision's probably in your head already, right? But the 3-year picture forces you to get it out of your brain, get it on paper, and make it real, and make it something that you can communicate with other people. That's important, right? Especially if you've got employees and you've got colleagues, you've got partners, right? Now let's come up with 3 to 5 let's come up with 3 to 5 bullets today. Now, one of them I'd like to request. I'd like you to write down how many people you're going to have on your team in the next 3 years. When that 3-year date comes that I mentioned to you before, 2027, how many people will you have? Then write down what your vision looks like. And I'm going to give you some ideas, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time to write these down. So think about locations, how many locations you have, how many items you've sold, new products or services, description of your role at that time, right? Because that's going to change over the next 3 years, or what your team looks like, what the composition of your team is. Maybe you've got 3 people, maybe you've got 5 people, you might have 15, you might have 10, you might have 7. But what does that look like? And I want you to be thinking about these things, because you can't plan if you're not thinking about what the future is actually going to look like. Maybe you've got new geographies where you want to be doing business. I've got lots of clients that are saying, oh, we're starting in this region, and then our goal is to go into this state or this region and to expand out geographically, because that's how their business works, right? Some businesses, geography doesn't matter. I'm just throwing out ideas to stir the pot and help you with this. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to write down those 3 to 5 items for what does it look like 3 years from now in your business. And don't forget, write down how many people you're going to have in your organization, how many people you think you'll have in your organization 3 years from now. Okay. The right people in the right seats 3 years from now. Now I'm going to be quiet for a minute. All right. Hopefully you guys have this been beneficial for you. I'd like a volunteer to share some of their 3 to 5 bullets. Share what you're comfortable with. Don't share what you're not, but I'd like to hear from a volunteer. Raise your hand or just take your camera off mute. What does your business look like 3 short years from now on the way to your 10-year goal, your target? 5, could be 5 years, could be shorter, but you understand. Let me get a volunteer. And if you'd rather have Chris read it out, you can certainly drop it in the chat.
I can volunteer.
Great, Davin. Thank you.
Night, we're getting good seeing you again. We saw it.
Yeah.
I'm at your dream hat. Me is to have a bigger space than what I currently have. Being able to have several tech, STEM, or cybersecurity partnerships that will allow me to teach more people and get them certifications to start their careers. I'll look in the hope to field several different gaming and esports teams with actual coaches other than me scrambling all over the place. And I'm looking for somewhere about 20 people, because you said no ranges. So about 20 people all working in different various roles of the center.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, Davin. And I didn't mention it before, but the best part of this activity, this whole process, is that you get to think about what that looks like, and the chance that you actually are going to reach it is higher. So be careful what you wish for. You might not actually be happy when you get there, but we're going to help you get there. That's good. Any other volunteers? Just take yourself off mute and start talking. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next section. Davin, I loved your example. Thank you so much. You get a gold star for the day, by the way. All right. So what's the benefit of the 3-year picture? What that is, there's 2 major benefits, because when you can see the 3-year picture in your mind's eye, and the people around you that are helping you with your business can see that same picture, that same 3-year picture in your mind's eye, the chances you're going to achieve it are much, 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 much higher. Right? It inspires people. They're moving toward a goal. And the other thing it does is it sets you up for great 1-year planning. Now let's turn the page. That's my segue over to the traction side of the document. Now on this side, as you see, we've got the 1-year plan, the rocks, and the issues list. First, we're going to do the 1-year plan. Now, what we're really going to do, what we do on this side of the document, is we bring that vision down to the ground and prioritize and plan. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to identify your 1-year plan. So go ahead and write down the date on the VTO or on your scratch paper, February 22nd, 2025, 1 year from now. Now you'll notice we use the same predictions here: revenue, profit, and measurable. So go ahead and, using your 3-year picture numbers, right? You just did these, set your revenue, profit, and measurables for the 1-year plan. Now, so the napkin math here would be like, hey, if you have your numbers for 3 years, divide those by 3. It's not an exact science, but try to get a number down there, right? So go ahead, using your 3-year picture numbers, set your revenue, profit, and measurables for your 1-year plan. And what we're looking for is, what are we going to achieve this year or next year to lay the foundation for achieving your vision with those metrics? I'll give you a moment. I'll give you about 30 seconds to think those through and put down the revenue, profit, and measurables. Okay, great. I hope you got done. We're just going to move on and maybe get backfilled if you didn't. Now what we do is we create 3 to 7 priorities. We call them goals for the year. Now we focus on 3 to 7 goals, not 37, because when everything's important, nothing's important. One of the phrases we use a lot when we're implementing EOS is less is more. 3 is utopia. Right? 3 is what we want. The idea is to decide what are the 3 to 7 most important things that must get done in the next year in order to achieve your 3-year picture, in order to achieve, in turn, your 10-year, your 5-year, your 30-year target. Right? We're creating a ladder, and this is at the bottom, or close to the bottom. So I'm going to give you just go ahead and start writing down your 3 to 7 goals for the year. And what I want you to do is start writing those. But to get your gears turning as you're writing, I'm going to be giving you a little bit more information. So go ahead and start writing the goals. Now keep in mind they have to be smart, quote unquote, or specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. You don't have to make them smart right this second, but remember that so that a month from now, in March and in July and November, you'll be able to read that goal and everyone will know exactly what it means with no discussion. There won't be any confusion when you pull this up next time and look at it and go, what was that again? You really don't want that. You want it to be clear enough that you and everybody knows that's what that goal is so you can actually hit it. God forbid you get to the end of the year and you go, did I actually do that or not? You want it to be clear. Absolute certainty. So just to restate it, to accomplish that 3-year picture we just painted, what are the 3 to 7 most important things your company must get done to make that 3-year picture a reality? I'm going to pause for a second, let you guys finish that up. 3 to 7 goals. All right. Can I get a volunteer to share your 1-year goals for the year? You don't have to share with me the numbers, just the goals. Davin, you did a great job on the last one. You want to jump in and give me your 1-year goals again?
Screw it, why not?
Awesome.
So you said no numbers. So from the measurables, I want to be able to start paying off some of the debts that I incurred last year to get everything started. But one thing that would be immeasurable to know that I'm getting towards the goal is getting some more new equipment that I'm able to do without incurring more debts. In order to make that happen, I'm looking to probably get more partnerships within the community. I've struggled with getting into the schools, so looking at community centers, state schools, like homeschool networks, and then also looking for sponsorships from small businesses or other brands. The big goal is to actually get more people in there on a consistent basis. Money.
Got it. Got it.
And more events. Basically, I think by having more events and trying to figure out what more people are into, I can host more events that's catered to that to get to those goals.
Awesome, Davin. That is a great start. Thank you for sharing that with me. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of coaching on this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now when you say, and I know you just did this, you've only been doing this for 2 minutes. So no judgment here. You did a great job and thank you. Number 1. Number 2, go through these and make them real specific for yourself. So you said pay off some debts. Well, how much of your debt do you want to pay off this year? Set yourself a specific target so you'll know what you're working toward. You said getting new equipment. Take the time after this call to say, well, what new equipment do I need to have in place by the end of this year to be on track for my 3-year picture, right? And define that. If it's cameras, if it's trucks, if it's whatever, say, I need a new truck. And trust me, like I've got clients where it is literally trucks, right? I met with a client yesterday. They've got technicians, and adding trucks to their fleet is a big deal. And they set that within their goals. So that's totally normal. You said more partnerships with community centers, homeschools, and partnerships. Great. That's a great one. How many and which type would make that smart, right? So if you say, okay, well, I want to have 3 partnerships with community centers, then you'll know when you're doing your day-to-day activities, I'm working toward those 3 partnerships with community centers. And when you check off those 3, you'll know you hit your goal for the year. Maybe you go a little further and stretch. That's okay. But maybe you change and say, you know what, I'm going to be working in partnerships. I want to be working with homeschoolers. I want to be working with sponsorships, right? It helps you set a specific goal that you're working toward. And then you said more events. Well, how many more for the year, right? Figure out how those might fit, because this will help you with a starting point. Okay, well, maybe I need to develop my calendar. These are the events that I already have on the calendar for the year. Look, happens to be a gap in November. So let's add a November event. Let's add a March event. So we're going to say 2 events. That's my goal for the year. This is the direction that we're heading. It'll help you get clarity on what you should be doing day to day. Does that make sense, Davin? Is that helpful? I hope. He's on mute, but I'm just going to assume that he said yes. Now we've
No,
crystallized.
sorry. I said, yeah. I said, actually, I did. I just didn't. I wanted to hurry up. I didn't want to, take up too much time. But I did have
No.
some details. So, like for my measurables, as far as new equipment, I was looking at new PCs and then some cameras and streaming equipment. Since we're doing we're launching a content creation club. As far as the community centers, I'm aiming for 5 community centers. And then the homeschool networks, I don't have anything on that. I'm just trying to actually get into it first and then see where I can go from there. And then as far as the events, like I said, I'm looking to shoot maybe 3 events a month, whether they're gaming tournaments or open houses or what have you.
Okay, great. You're well on the right track. It sounds like those are smart goals, are specific, measurable, achievable, and they are time bound. So it's a specific time period that you're going to reach those goals. Now, great. We've done your your revenue, profit, and measurables, and set those 3 to 7 clear aligned goals. Now we're going to move on to your quarterly rocks. Okay. This is the next section of the VTO. We call these rocks. Now write down on your piece of paper either 5/22/24, which is 3 months from now, or pick the end of the calendar quarter. This is really up to you, which is March 29th. If you want to sync up with calendar quarters, it's really your call. Now, rocks are just 90-day business priorities, getting you and everybody you're working with 100% on the same page with what's most important over the next 90 days. Creating a 90-day world for the organization is what we call it. Now, just like with the 3-year picture and the 1-year plan, we start by predicting revenue, profit, and measurables, just like we did before. And again, divide by 4, that's the starting point. Then we identify the 3 to 7 priorities over the next 90 days. So, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and plug in your revenue, profit, and measurables for the next quarter, whatever the time frame is we talked about, either the next 3 months or until the end of March. I'll give you a minute. I'll pause briefly here. All right, now 3 to 7 priorities for your company over the next 90 days. The 3 to 7 most important things that you must get done in the next 90 days. Think of it this way. What do you need to get done in the next 90 days in order to be on track for your 1-year goals, and then your 3-year picture, and then your 10-year target or your ultimate goal, right? What are those 3 to 7 most important things? Go ahead and write them down. We call these rocks, by the way, at EOS, but they're quarterly goals. They're based on a metaphor that's been around for a while, where if you put your rocks, the big things that really need to get done first, you're much more likely to accomplish them. Go ahead and write down your 3 to 7 rocks for the quarter, the next 90 days. Can I get a volunteer to read some of the rocks? Now, Davin's been getting the white glove treatment today, but perhaps somebody else would like to jump in and give me a couple examples of their rocks. Chris, do you do rocks?
I have done rocks.
Do you have them for this quarter, or you're off the wagon right now? And we got to work on that, by the way.
I'm not on the wagon at the moment.
Okay.
But I can definitely come up with some.
No, that's okay. Davin, do you have any that you want to share?
Okay. So we're looking at the 3 to 5. So locking in some of the verbal commitments I have for summer camps and spring break camps. Same thing with my some of the gaming tournaments I have. Obviously more, again, trying to get more people. So I'm going to start looking at doing different things for marketing or direct mail. And then I want to host a big open house or grand opening event. And the measurable for that is to actually generate enough revenue to make that happen.
Awesome. Great. Those are great rocks. Make sure they're real specific and then go and achieve them. Okay. You just set your rocks. These are designed to create discipline and focus and accountability. So you're executing on your vision every 90 days. So every 90 days, if you set the rocks with me today, set a reminder on your calendar at the end of the quarter, go in. It's time to create fresh rocks, right? And do this every single quarter. Be disciplined, produce those rocks, and you'll achieve your 1 year. You'll achieve your 1 year plan. You'll achieve your 3 year picture. You'll achieve your 10-year target. Now, the last item I'm going to cover today before we get into questions is your issues list. We compile an issues list. Now, I don't know about you, but you've probably been, a lot of folks jot down a lot of things while we're going through this process. Well, there's this, it's not really a goal, but it's something I think I might want to do. Now, you've probably been thinking about a million other things, maybe making notes that need to be done someday, but not in the next quarter. So now is the opportunity, and this is the space to get those issues out of your head and onto your issues list so they're not camping out in your brain and taking your attention away from your rocks. So take a moment, write those down. If you've already gotten them written down, just maybe put an I next to them, put them on the issues list, however you want to mark those. But go ahead and bare your soul, right? If there's something that's bugging you, right? If there's an opportunity that's bothering you, well, what are you terrified about in your business right now? What are your biggest opportunities? What are your biggest issues? Your biggest concerns? What's pissing you off? What are the biggest ideas you can capitalize on? Write them down, get them out of your head onto an issues list so that in your brain, when you're going about your day to day, when you're having lunch today, you're not troubled by those. They're captured. You have them. You're going to deal with them someday, just not today. Right? So you're not burning CPU cycles on them. Now, by the way, if any of you are sitting there thinking, I don't have any issues, that's an issue. Everybody's got issues. Okay. Now, once you've written down your issues, you've answered the 8th question. We've answered 8 questions. This is a simplified approach to strategic planning. Those are the 8 questions, and that's the VTO, and that's your annual plan. So as we wrap up this tool, I urge you to take whatever you've written down, take the time to refine and finesse it. Give it a good polish, but don't take too long, because next week, if you've got employees, if you've got partners, I want you to get together with them and get all on the same page agree on all the answers that you've come up with those 8 questions. Now, don't dictate this to them. Have a conversation. Make it interactive. Be open-minded. You'll get a better plan. You'll get a better company if you get everybody in the room together and don't leave that room until you're all 100% in agreement with what this plan should be. Discuss, debate, be open and honest with one another, but you must agree. And if there's someone in your organization that just won't, right? They won't participate. They won't contribute. They won't debate. They might not belong on your team and in your business. If they're not willing to contribute to the plan and to the vision, maybe they're holding you back. So consider that. But whatever happens, this plan won't work unless there's 100% agreement on your leadership team with the answers to all of these questions. Now, that's it for your VTO and your annual plan. I know it went fast and your head's probably swimming. We only have 5 minutes left. I'm sorry. That darn PowerPoint issue that came up earlier in the meeting scrubbed out some of our question time. But, and you may be thinking like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. That's normal. Think it through. You'll get there. Now I've got a couple of minutes for questions. Chris is going to, I think, Chris, can you manage that? How do we want to do that? Have people raise their hands? What's your questions been coming in?
I would do a hand raising method.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand in Zoom, and I'm happy to field the question and help you have a more effective annual plan. This is that awkward, quiet moment.
That's right. It's time for more dad jokes, right?
I'm going to pull out a dad joke if nobody volunteers here. This is your chance to ask questions on this life-changing annual plan that we just went over here.
I actually have some good ones because ever since you caught me there, I'm like, I'm never gonna be caught again, and I stayed true to that. And one thing that was a new insightful dad moment for me was I realized that I'm worried about my calendar because its days are numbered.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that one, Chris. I actually was thinking about this. I do a lot of work with leadership teams, and I do a lot of that work on the whiteboard. And I got to tell you, one of all the inventions in the last 100 years, the dry erase board has got to be the most remarkable. That's a pun for those of you following along. I know you're probably muted.
Still get that.
So it's remarkable. You can remark it.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Sorry.
That was a tough one. That one was hidden.
My jokes are so good they need to be explained. Well, listen, guys, if there's no questions, we can wrap. I want you to go about your busy day. Now, I have something that I hope you enjoyed the session. And I hope it brought value. I'm pleased to have met you. Davin, thank you so much for sharing your specific examples. That's great. And like I said, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions on any of this. I'm happy to help. I help tons of companies that aren't actually clients. I just want to help, right? Now, but I want to ask something of you. So if you know of entrepreneurial companies of like 10 to 250 employees that are ready to take their business to the next level, and they're struggling or they want to break through the ceiling, whether they become clients or not, I always help, but I want you to send them my way. Say, hey, you know what? You should talk to James because I'll go through the whole thing, the whole deep dive here with them. I'll help them unlock some ideas for their business. I help. I like helping. Okay. So look out for your family, friends, fellow business owners, peer group members, association members. I also do speaking engagements. If you're a part of a group and you say, hey, we need speakers, somebody to come in and tell some dad jokes and also help with business strategy, business planning, and running a great business, I'm here for you. Introduce them to me, and I'd be happy to help. So after the call, thanks for coming. We'll be sending a recording of this session and the VTO template. If you didn't grab it with the QR code, please, as I said, please use it. If you have any questions, give me a call. I'm happy to help. With that, I think we conclude for the day. Chris, do you have anything? Oh, one other thing I want to say is that Chris, who's been on the call, Chris runs a business called Cogent Connections, and he is a true LinkedIn expert. Now, I say true that way because I think we all know that there's a million people on LinkedIn saying that they're LinkedIn experts, right? And they're generally full of malarkey. Chris is incredible. He's legit. He helped me get this great group together today, helped me facilitate the call. He's brilliant. I would say, I don't know if Chris has availability, but I just want to sing your praises, Chris. Do you want people to get in touch with you at this point, Chris? Are you full?
I think I'm like you. I'm always glad to talk to folks. So if anyone is trying to figure out, hey, I know I'm supposed to be using LinkedIn to grow my business, but how could I be doing that? I'm glad to, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, Christopher Giddings, I'll at least kind of outline for you the things you could be doing to bring LinkedIn in as part of your business development process.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. And thank you for your help with this. All right, guys. Thanks. Have a great day. Keep killing it in your business. Let me know if you have any questions. Hasta la vista.
Have a good afternoon.